your smartphone or your sample ballot. The idea would be that if you can access an electronic version of the sample ballot on your PC, that you'd be able to mark it using your PC, print it out in your home printer, and then bring something that's already marked that could be scanned and read, which is a great option for folks that want to use their own equipment, their own devices, and then just bring in something that's already pre-marked that could be scanned, generate an official ballot.
So the last component that emerged in the model is that voters want to have the option to vote anywhere. So this is the vote center idea. So voters can go anywhere within the county, or a vote center, or what we have currently as polling sites is to go to any one of these locations to really mark their ballot. So again, the four components of the voting system model that emerged are the ballot marking device, the paper ballot, pre-marking options, and the vote anywhere idea. So this model was translated into 3 different concepts. I want to emphasize that we are not necessarily choosing from amongst these 3 different concepts. These are the first ideas, the initial drafts for some concepts. These 3 concepts may not end up, probably not end up, any one of these will not end up being the final concept. There's just 3, again, initial ideas. So we might come up with something completely different. We might come up with a hybrid of these 3 voting systems. Now I'm going to stand up for those that are here and show you guys the core models as we go through the presentation too. So I want to emphasize that the focus for this part of this exercise, this part of the project, is the in-person voting experience. So we haven't yet talked about vote by mail. We haven't yet talked about the tally part of the process. So it's the in-person voting system what we've really focused on. So the first concept. And then a reminder that the design concepts do take into account the voter needs, the voter experience, the poll worker experience, and our operational considerations. So the first system consists of 3 different elements. The first element is a tablet type of device which poll workers will use to check in the voters. And that the initial thoughts, it would be a size of a traditional iPad. I believe that's a 10-inch screen or so. So if there's a tablet, again, poll workers use this to check in the voters. The second part of it is a ballot marking device, which has an adjustable screen for voters to mark their selection. It has in front, it has a slit for a paper feed. So this is where the paper ballot would be put in by the voter, and then it's spit out once the voter marks the selections on the screen. And then the third component is a ballot box. So the ballot box is a simple box, no electronic components to it or anything like that. It's just a box where voters would mark or drop in their paper ballot. Now, for those on the phone, the size of the device, it would adjust. It adjusts to, individual that's standing up, individual that's sitting, individual that's in a wheelchair, so it adjusts to different positions, and it also adjusts for transportation, so the system collapses. We have, the concern of having the poll workers put these devices in their car, carrying them, transporting them, so the voting system device collapses, and we're looking at ways of how they can, be pieced together so they take up less space. So this is the first device.
Just a quick note, Monica, as you mentioned the ballot marking device and the screen size. For all of the concepts that Monica's going to review, it's a touch screen ballot marking device. So when she mentions screens and all of the ideas, these are touch screen devices.
And for all these devices, we're exploring, looking at what type of connectors can be put on the devices, through like 3.5 millimeter, or what the best type of connector it is to attach headphones or other assistive technology devices. So that, again, is being explored. The device for the touchscreen would have, a volume adjustment, would have a text size adjustment, contrast, those type of things to make the screen itself a little more accessible.
I just have a question quickly, just for those who previously experienced the touchscreens. Will this have any resemblance around the device, a privacy, so one would feel no one's looking over their shoulders or able to see what they're pressing on the display that you know of or would consider?
Right, so the privacy has been considered, and some of the things are, for example, for the audio, if someone wants to select to black out the screen, they could black out the screen. And then, you know, putting the, I don't know if it's
Privacy
a film.
shield.
Yeah, there we go. Privacy shield on the screen so that you can only see the screen at a certain angle. So that it definitely is a consideration, is how we can make it private. And then of course
no
the layout.
Decisions, yeah, no decisions on whether these would be in some sort of booth or not. None of that's been sort of decided on yet or anything.
Terry?
Monica, do you know if it would have a voice command feature? Because I use voice text a lot, and that works for me. So would that be an option?
It's something we can consider. We haven't really talked about it too much. I think that's somewhere that we'll consider once the software discussions start taking place, but it's definitely, you know, something we can take note of and explore.
Yeah, and remember that none of those specs are there. Right now they're just trying to figure out what the physical thing might look like, how the physical aspect of the design of it, other than saying it's a touch screen and it should have telescoping legs for adjustment, and it should have ports that people can bring accessibility. Beyond those specifics, these next rounds of iteration and some of the interviews you all have participated in will start to bring up some of those more specific requirements. And I know the voluntary voting system guidelines have a number of different requirements as well, but certainly the information you provide will help to define a lot of those specifics and needs as well. Terry?
What will it be made out of, the base?
Yeah, none of that's been decided.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because
they haven't had any engineering, manufacturing to look at weights, durability,
I think they need to really look at that carefully, because a power wheelchair can weigh 250 pounds without the person.
Yeah.
So, you know, whatever that base is, they're going to be rolling over it to get to the screen, get close enough to the screen. And I know you said it was going to be height adjustable, which is great, but there are height adjustable tables that we use at United Cerebral Palsy that are really terrific. But we've gone through a lot of different types that don't work and will actually fall on the person. And so I think they've got to be really careful that in being height adjustable, there's some sort of click that happens at where it locks in place, or some of the newer types are kind of almost like on a hydraulic kind of system. I'll try to get the names of what we're now using that are
really
small.
helpful.
They're just small tables on wheels and you can bring them up and down. But I think also the pole monitors are going to have to be trained to use these tables and to move the height of the tables, because the person in the wheelchair may not be able to use their hands to do that. And well, I'll wait till you get to the others. I already see a problem with one of them that absolutely is not wheelchair accessible.
Do you have a comment? Anybody else? Yes, go ahead.
I was just curious about the internet and marking the ballots online and this and that. I mean, I understand the accessibility aspect of that, and hopefully the programming is in place to make sure that that's available. But I'm just concerned, what about all of the issues that are going on in light of security and protecting all that information, especially
So the voting systems in the polling place would not be connected to the internet. That is actually prohibited in California. They wouldn't be connected to the internet. The pre-marking option, something like what Efrain said, you pull up your sample ballot and you mark it at home and print it. It would be and I don't know all the software, but it would be
It
something
wouldn't
more
be
like
on
a,
the internet.
it would be more like a PDF, you know, where you download a PDF, you can mark it and then print it. So you would bring in a printed copy, so nowhere in our server or anywhere where we store your selections, yeah, so it
Okay.
wouldn't be on the
You would
internet.
just be printing out a hard copy. then
Right,
putting
so
it on
you would
top.
just be
Okay.
accessing your blank sample
Okay.
ballot on the internet, which we do.
Yeah, and the important part is that in none of the designs or even in the pre-marking is transmitting any of the data that you've marked over the internet. So, however it is that you mark your ballot, the idea is that you would print out a hard copy, and that is what it will then be used to transfer onto an official ballot. So the communication of whatever selections you've made, the communication of election results, none of that is allowed to be transmitted over the internet. So even if you did access, say, a form or use some mobile site to mark some form, what you print out is what's the verifiable piece, and that's what would have had, no communication would take place.
Just a quick follow-up, what about the proposals of the iPad-like device that will be used to check people in? How will that be protected so that information is not available?
So the electronic poll book, that is something that we're again exploring, and it's something that is used in different counties. The electronic poll book does have to be connected to a server if we're going to allow for people to vote at different locations. So to ensure that I don't go to 4 or 5 multiple, vote centers and vote, that information has to sync somewhere, centrally. That device doesn't record any type of information other than this person has voted, and that, as it is already public information.
Public record.
It's the roster that's put on the door, and people can come and look at it. So that's information. We're not putting anything out there that isn't already made available to the public.
I am just thrilled that they are looking at a touch screen, like an iPad kind of thing, without the being attached to internet. Because that is, for people who are nonverbal, they are now starting to use iPads literally in the school system for children with disabilities who cannot write and cannot speak, and so it will be really easy for that to translate to people who have used that technology. They'll feel at home in the polling place, and it will open the doors to people who have felt that their only option right now is to vote by mail. And I'm really thrilled. I mean, they will be thrilled to hear this, because I think the biggest concern that I have always had is for people who can't mark a ballot by themselves, a traditional ballot, and they're voting by mail. They have to totally trust whoever it is, and often it's an aide that's paid just above minimum wage to fill out that ballot. And if that person wanted to mark it intentionally some other way, I'll tell you, that should be a bigger concern than any concern on internet, because seniors are a huge number of people in our population, and if you combine seniors with people with disabilities, it is a huge number of people. So I'm really glad to see this movement forward to make people more independent, and so happy to see that everybody has taken all the input over the years seriously. It's good to see. Yay.
This is Donna.
Yes.
Yeah, Donna.
I just want to share that I'm sure that the information that you gathered from the three of us from the council, will definitely be in the next iteration of, or the next phase of this project. And what I would say is that if you are planning on using a PDF for the marking, that of course everything would be fully compliant so that it could be used with all assistive technologies instead of, a static printout, because some of our folks aren't able to access those. And, so I'm sure that you will be considering that and doing some testing as things roll out to, that part of the project. So, thank you.
So we'll move on to the second concept. The second concept consists of also three different components. This one actually uses a tablet, a touchscreen tablet for the voter to mark their selections. So
sorry to interrupt you, Monica. Maybe because each of these are inspired by a particular philosophy or theme, maybe before you go over it, for the folks on the phone to get a better kind of idea of why setups are a certain way, you could talk a little bit about, so for instance, concept 2 is Vote My Way, kind of what is it that they're trying to promote, or what this model tries to achieve.
Okay.
That way folks on the phone can visualize your description under that kind of theme.
Okay. So the second concept, Vote My Way, would allow voters to more easily mark their ballot in a position that they like. So without since the device is the touchscreen isn't attached to a standalone device, so voters can take the tablet and vote standing up, vote sitting down, vote on a wheelchair, vote, whatever position that they're in, they can use the tablet to mark their ballot. And that was the original thought, the idea with this. And so the tablet is really the core of, or the central part that the design was built around. So this would envision a few tablets in the voting center, and we haven't decided again in this design if we would have booths or a lounge area, but some sort of setup where people would mark their ballot using the device. Voters would then take the tablet and take it to kind of like a tabletop scanner or connector, so they put their tablet on it, verify that the selections are correct. It prints a paper ballot